All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make a quick video for you guys today on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone is enjoying. Talking about a thread that I wrote about Noundles yesterday that actually blew up a little bit, and a lot of people found it very helpful. And so, if you didn't catch that on my Twitter, I thought I would make a quick video about it. Given that the Noundles game is upcoming. Just before we get into it, I want to give a quick update on the actual collection itself. So we've been seeing this price actually got all the way like very close to 1 ETH. I saw it up to 0.9, 0.92 at one point. Now we're seeing a little bit of a pullback, which I think is completely normal. I think people are taking profits, which I think is great for whoever needs to do that. And so I'm not gonna, call anyone out on taking profits. And I think that's all right. But the floor is still, staying pretty healthy. If you look, it's actually even higher than what this is showing because OpenSea floors suck all the time. But it's going up pretty nicely. Scroll down a few rows, and you're almost at point 0.8. So I'm not too worried about the floor. But what I wanted to talk about today was that yesterday the team actually had an AMA on Twitter Spaces that I was able to join, and I got up on stage and asked some questions that I had. And I thought, you know what, like this is pretty in depth and this is pretty complex. So I took some notes during it and I shared those on Twitter. And that's what I wanted to kind of go over in this video today. So I'll go through my tweet here. It's kind of a long thread, but hopefully it'll be helpful for anyone trying to learn a little bit more about Noundles, but also just generally about these, game theory type of NFTs that we're starting to see with Wolf Game and things like that. So we'll get into it right now. So just quick history, which is important to know. Noundles started like less than 10 days ago, which is crazy that it's already going insane. And the important thing is that there's 7,465 Genesis Noundles, and that was the collection I just showed you guys. And there's never going to be any more. There was a point where they had some left over for people who had doodles or nouns, since it's a combination project. But since for all those that were unclaimed, they actually ended up burning. So this Genesis collection is going to stay at 7,465. And there's never going to be any more. And then the second big thing is, I know a lot of people are talking about Wolf Game and all these copycats that are coming up, like Cat and Mouse and Wizards and Dragons or whatever. Then the team was very vocal about the fact that the smart contract for Noundles is actually built from scratch, and none of it was copied from Wolf Game. So they didn't even look at the contract for Wolf Game until all the exploits happened, and they were just seeing, like, trying to figure out what happened. So they were very, upfront about that. And I think the team has been very communicative and honest. So that's kind of good to see. All right, so let's get into the game mechanics. So this is going to get a little bit complex, so I'm going to try to break it down as clearly as possible. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. I'm happy to hang out there and answer some of these things. So the 4 parts of the game that you need to know are: there's Noundles, there's Noundle companions, which I'll just call companions, there's evil Noundles, and there's rainbows. And so we're going to talk about all of these things. But before we do, there's also 2 kind of terms that you need to understand. So right now, the game has not launched yet. So if you have a Noundle, you can earn rainbows, which we'll talk about. But pretty soon, there's going to be an initial mint, which is, there's 2 terms, initial mint and new mint. So the initial mint is going to be a stealth launch 1 day before the game starts. And in that time period, you will either be able, if you hold a Noundle, you'll be able to get a Noundle companion for free without gas. And if you were in the snapshot that the team took, a few days ago, you'll also be able to mint a evil Noundle using some of the rainbows that you've earned. So those things are reserved for people in the initial mint, which is going to be a stealth launch. And then 24 hours after that, the game is actually going to start. And during the game is when new mints happen. So that's when, as you're accumulating rainbow, you can, new mint companions, and you can new mint evil Noundles with like a chance of getting both. So those are kind of 2 terms that I wanted to go over because that was a little bit confusing. So I hope that clears it up. All right, so let's talk about each of the components. So first you have the Noundles, and this is the Genesis Noundles, basically this collection that I showed you guys here. So the Noundles will earn 4 rainbows per day if you don't list them. And this is the first key thing. You don't have to stake. You don't have to pay gas to stake things like you had to do with Wolf Game. If you just don't have them listed on OpenSea, your Noundle will earn 4 rainbows per day per Noundle. And then also, if you hold a Noundle before the stealth mint that I mentioned, you're going to be eligible to get a companion. And I'll talk a little bit more about companions. And companions for that stealth mint are going to be free. You just have to pay gas. A few days ago, there was also a snapshot taken. And if you were a part of that snapshot during the stealth mint, you're going to be able to also mint an evil Noundle for some amount of rainbows that's still to be determined. So they haven't said how many rainbows it's going to cost, but they did say that, if you've had a Noundle this whole time and you haven't listed, you should have accumulated more than enough rainbows to mint your evil Noundle. So essentially, these are things that are set aside for Noundle holders right from the beginning to give them a little bit of a leg up when they're starting the game. So the next up is the companions, and the game basically consists of companions and evil Noundles. Those are the new things you can mint. You will never be able to mint a new Noundle Genesis. Remember, I said there's only 7,465 of those. So companions, you can get them either for free during that initial stealth launch mint if you have a Noundle, or when the game starts and you're collecting your rainbows, you can use some rainbows to mint you'll mint something, and the chance of that being a companion is 90%, and then the rest of the 10% is it will be an evil Noundle. So that's kind of the game theory there. Is similar to wolf and sheep. You'll mint something during the game with your rainbows. 90% it'll be a companion. And companions will earn 2 rainbows per day if you don't list them. So same, no staking, just don't list them and you'll get your rainbows. And I'll show you guys, actually I guess I can show you right now. So this is the site where you can, stake, even though it's not really staking. So I haven't staked this. This is just my Noundle. I've won. It's been earning 4 rainbows per day. And then I haven't claimed any of these. In order to withdraw and claim, you have to pay a little bit of gas. And so we'll talk about the claim mechanics a little bit later. So those were companions. And then evil Noundles. So these are kind of the most complex things. Evil Noundles. So this is kind of the wolf from Wolf Game. And their whole thing is stealing. That's kind of what the team described them as. So there's going to be 2 ways to get them. One is if you were in that snapshot that was taken a few days ago, you'll be able to mint one with your rainbows during the stealth launch. There was 3,435 eligible mints, so that's like kind of the max supply when the game starts. However, if not everybody claims one, the unclaimed ones are going to be burned. And then when the game does start, there's going to be a 10% chance that whenever you use your rainbows to mint something, it'll be an evil Noundle. And so when I talked to the team, I asked them, what's the goal? Like, what percentage of all of the NFTs are going to be evil Noundles? And their goal is to be between 10 and 15% so that there isn't a huge, influx or supply of these evil Noundles. And so how do evil Noundles earn things? So evil Noundles don't earn rainbows in the way that Noundles and companions do. They actually earn rainbows passively and actively. So the passive way is that there's a 20% tax on the Noundles and companions whenever they claim their rainbows. So like I showed you guys here, these are unclaimed rainbows. When I withdraw this and pay the gas, 20% of this is going to go to the evil Noundles pool, and that's going to be split in between all of the evil Noundles. There is a mechanic of, maybe Genesis Noundles won't have to pay either the full tax of 20% or they may not have to pay it at all, but that was something that the team is still determining. But what you have to remember is that evil Noundles get their passive income from a tax on Noundles and companions whenever the Noundles and companions claim their rainbows. So that's the passive tax here. And then there's the active way, that's how you, which is the stealing mechanic. And so the stealing mechanic was a little bit complicated when they explained it, but I think I kind of figured it out. So it's essentially, the way to think about it is 2 dice rolls. So in the first roll, let's say you have an evil Noundle and you want to steal. You would go on the website and actually try to steal. It's active. So you would first need the ability to steal. So the first dice basically says, hey, I want to steal, and the dice gets rolled, and there's a 90% chance that you fail, so you can't steal. And then there's a 10% chance that a steal can be attempted. And this is the key thing. You haven't stolen anything yet. You just have the chance to steal. And then once you have this chance, there's a second roll. And basically what that says is that an evil Noundle well, basically during the second roll, one random evil Noundle will be selected, and there will be a 90% success rate of stealing and a 10% failing rate of stealing. And if you fail, you go to jail, and we'll talk about jail. So basically, I'll go over this one more time. An evil Noundle wants to steal. They roll one dice that says 90% chance that they fail, 10% chance that they have the ability to even steal. If this 10% chance hits, then there's a second roll. Only if the 10% chance hits is there a second roll. And in the second roll, basically what happens is a random evil Noundle is chosen, and there is a 90% chance of successfully stealing and a 10% chance of failing. And if you fail, you go to jail. We'll talk about jail. But the other thing is there's actually no cost to steal, because the steal gas is paid by the person that was minting. So what you're stealing is you're stealing that new mint. You're stealing that new companion or the evil Noundle that someone is trying to mint with their rainbows. And so they're paying the gas for that transaction. So if you try to steal, you're not even paying the gas. You're literally just getting a free NFT, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's say you try to steal and you went to jail. Jail basically means you're locked up for 3 hours and you don't get any of that passive income via the tax, and you can't steal. But you can spend some rainbow to get your evil Noundle out of jail. So this is going to be kind of where the game theory comes in. It's basically, do you think that being in jail for 3 hours is worth it, or do you think that it's better to pay some rainbow, get out of jail, and try to steal more things? There was some question of this 3 hours number and if that's like enough time. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see if the team changes that. But that's kind of what jail means. And then a little fun thing that they made was a most wanted list. So it's going to be the list of top 10 evil Noundles who steal the most. I think I actually really like this part. And it's cool because if you're in that top 10 list and you try to steal from someone, let's say you try to steal and you fail and you go to jail, the person that you try to steal from will get a bounty for catching one of the most wanted evil Noundles. So I think that's pretty cool. They haven't said what the bounty is going to be, but I bet it will be in rainbow. So I thought this was a nice little addition to the game. Okay, so those are the three kind of characters, and then you have rainbows, which is the currency of the project. We talked about different ways you can earn rainbow, but the liquidity pool, the initial liquidity pool, is going to be consisting of 15. The team is going to supply it with 15% of that initial mint and 75% of OS royalties, OpenSea royalties. And so they were pretty, they voiced that, right now you can go and buy rainbows, but they said it's probably not the best idea just because there's not a good benchmark or price because they haven't supplied that initial liquidity pool yet. So there's just a lot of slippage. And then Rainbows is going to have future utility. It's something called the Noundle Grail. This is essentially like, if you have Rainbow, you can get into collabs and whitelists and merch and giveaways and things like that. So, one rainbow equals one rainbow. They have to say that. So, okay, so those are the components. The key thing that I really liked, the team said, was there's ways for people to earn passively. Like, you can have a Noundle or a companion or an evil Noundle, and all of them can earn passively. But if you want to be an active player in the game, you can also actively try to steal with an evil Noundle. So that was a pretty good explanation that the team gave. And a couple of other things in the game mechanics. We talked about this idea of having new mints and the 90% chance that you'll get a companion and a 10% chance that you'll get an evil Noundle. So those new mints are going to cost 20 rainbows each. And that price is probably going to go up as the supply of new mints goes down. So the team hasn't confirmed what the maximum supply of the new mint collection is. And so this new mint collection is going to be a separate collection on OpenSea. So you'll have the Genesis Noundles, and then you'll also have this, I think it's called like Noundles Theory or Noundles Game or something, where you'll have all the evil Noundles and the companions. But we don't know what that max number is going to be. And other things, we talked about the tax here, and then we also said that the Genesis Noundles may be able to bypass the tax, but that's still TBD. And then the final thing is, how do people how does the team prevent people from listing? Because that's the way the floors kind of go up in these projects. There's a supply shock, there's not that many listed, and so you see a high floor. So obviously, if you list, you don't earn the rainbow, so that's one way. But if you list Noundle or Companion, there's also a 35% chance. There's a chance that you're going to lose 35% of your unclaimed rainbow. So, you know, if I were to list this person, this Noundle today, there is a chance I'll lose 35% of this. I don't know what that chance is. They haven't said. But, you know, there's also a chance I may not lose any of it. But that's another incentive for people not to list. Obviously, a lot of people were responding to my thread and were like, okay, but what if I just withdraw and claim this and then listed? And sure, you can definitely do that. But I think this was just another mechanism they added for the game theory. So, some open questions that are still pending. You know, we don't know what the total supply of new mints is. We don't know if the Genesis Noundles are going to be able to bypass that 20% tax to the evil Noundles. And then those are probably the two biggest things. And there's a couple of smaller things that someone highlighted in this in a comment here. So I'll try to see if I can find that for you guys. But if you want to go through the thread and read, there was a lot of great comments on this. And so I thought that, you know, I thought I would make this video. Originally, I wasn't going to make it, but it seems like an apt time, and I had some downtime today. All right, so that's all I had for you guys today. Hopefully this was helpful and gave you a little bit more insight onto what's going on with the Noundles and their game that is upcoming. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to link the thread down below for everyone. If you did enjoy this, I'd really appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's still a really small channel and I'm having a good time making these videos. So, you know, getting people to subscribe and getting in on the conversation would really make me want to make more videos. And, you know, I just like to hear from people. So if this gave you some value, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and share with someone else that it may help out. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving and eats a good dinner and spend some time with their loved ones. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.